Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar. My name is Hillary Roberts and I'm a customer advocate at OWL Practice. I support private practices during their transition to OWL and help practice owners strategize new ways to optimize their businesses. I especially love working for OWL because we have a close partnership with our customers. We feel like more like partners than providers, and we're always growing our product based on their suggestions and ideas. Collaborating with practitioners to make changes to grow their practice and make their administrative duties easy makes my job creative, fulfilling, and fun. Today we'll review what maintaining compliance means and the features that OWL has in place to keep your practice in line with these regulations. This webinar will run for approximately 30 minutes, and today our agenda will be talking about what compliance is exactly, exploring federal, provincial, and college regulations, talking about data safety and security in OWL, exploring compliant features throughout OWL with a product demo, and an FAQ period at the end. You'll be muted for the duration of today's webinar. We do have a few new users as well as more seasoned OWL users. We'll do our best to cover content relative to everyone, but if you have any questions at the end, just let us know and we're happy to set up a free custom consultation. If we do not answer any of the questions in the FAQ portion at the end, please email us at any time at support@owlpractice.ca with any follow-up questions you may have. Our team is always happy to help. We'll deliver a recorded copy of the webinar via email tomorrow, so if you need to leave the session early or want to revisit any of the information, you can do so at any time you wish. To start today, we're going to talk about what compliance means exactly. In terms of mental health practitioners, compliance is when a practitioner is following the laws of their designated region in relation to their personal health information for their clients. There are two main privacy laws federally in Canada: the Privacy Act and the Personal Information Protection and Electronic Documents Act, or PIPEDA. In Canada, the Privacy Act applies to a person's right to the information that the government holds about them. PIPEDA covers how personal businesses maintain information. To maintain compliance as a practitioner, you'll need to follow PIPEDA. It applies to the collection, use, and disclosure of personal information in a course of commercial activity. You may need to ask yourself what defines personal information. Personal information is any recorded information or data that can identify an individual, such as their name, address, phone number, or ID number. Any information that is about an identifiable individual, physical description, education, or blood type is also considered personal information as well. We will cover what is and is not personal information in depth later in the webinar. We'll now discuss the different laws and regulations as well as college compliance, starting with federal. As previously mentioned, the act that regulates how personal health information is dealt with is PIPEDA. In terms of this, OWL acts as an agent of a private practice, helping to enable compliance for practice owners. We take this role very seriously. Canadian legislation concerns guide how we make every decision for our platform. We work with mental health professionals across the country, helping them to comply with their legislation around personal health information. Each province has its own set of regulations around personal health information records as well, but they all contain very similar requirements from an electronic records management perspective. For example, in Ontario, practitioners will follow PHIPAA, and in BC, they follow PIPA. We will not be discussing specific provincial legislation today, as it's too in-depth for the overview that we're providing. We do want to explain substantially similar legislation, though. In certain provinces, privacy, private sector, or health legislation has been passed that has been deemed substantially similar to PIPEDA. If your province legislation is considered substantially similar, you do not need to comply with PIPEDA, and you're only subject to your provincial laws. Industry Canada determined criteria in 2002 that decided whether provincial or territorial legislation would be considered to be substantially similar to PIPEDA. Under this policy, these laws can be considered substantially similar when they incorporate the 10 principles as listed in Schedule 1 of PIPEDA, with special emphasis on the principles of consent, access, and correction rights. providing an independent and effective oversight and redress mechanism with the powers to investigate, and when they restrict the collection, use, and disclosure of personal information to purposes that are appropriate and legitimate. When it is not, PIPEDA continues to apply to the collection, use, or disclosure of personal information in the connection or operations of a federal work. If you are doing any work outside of your province, you will need to follow PIPEDA for the collection, use, and disclosure of that information. In addition to personal health information compliance, it's important to comply with your local professional college requirements as well. Again, OWL was specifically designed with these requirements in mind. We've ensured that OWL complies with these regulations in all ways to the fullest of our knowledge. The reality is that once people start using OWL, their ability to comply with both personal health information and college requirements often improves dramatically. If you have any questions or concerns about how OWL complies with college requirements, please reach out to our team at support@owlpractice.ca. We're always happy to answer any of your questions. As a practice owner, there are several things that you need to do to ensure compliance for your practice, but one of the most critical is how you choose to store and manage all of your sensitive client records. At OWL, we go to great lengths to ensure the security and privacy of your practice data at all times, using a variety of means to do so. We will explore a few of the ways that OWL is a compliant service. Today we'll discuss data storage on Canadian servers, why having OWL servers stored in Canada matters to you, some features of the secure facility where our servers are stored, accessing your account through a customized login page, data encryption between your computers and our servers, and the measures that we take for data loss protection. PIPEDA states although personal health information can be stored outside of Canada, the agent must follow Canadian privacy laws to maintain compliance. This puts extra responsibility for you as a practitioner to ensure that the software you utilize is compliant. It's important for organizations to assess the risks that could jeopardize the integrity, security, and confidentiality of client personal information when it's transferred to a third-party service provider operating outside of Canada. Organizations must be transparent about the personal health information handling practices. This includes advising clients that their personal information may be sent to another jurisdiction for processing, and while the information is in another jurisdiction, it may be accessed by courts, law enforcement, or national security authorities. Customers who choose OWL do not have to worry about any of this, as our servers are stored in Canada. You never have to worry about your data leaving Canadian soil. We use a combination of SQL and MongoDB databases to store all of our practice data in a secure fashion. Our servers specifically are stored in Toronto and in Montreal. The facility where our servers are stored is also extremely secure. We run in some of the top data centers in Canada. All servers are stored in racks which have a lock and key access, and the rooms themselves only have keycard access. All data centers have 24/7 video surveillance, so you can feel comfortable knowing that your information is stored at a top-of-the-line secure facility. Each account in OWL has its own segregated database, accessible only from a customized, account-specific URL. There's no way to log into OWL accounts from the OWL site, and these login pages are not searchable on Google for security reasons. OWL's online booking is also accessed in a different link found in the therapist profile. No one who works outside of your practice will ever need to be given this URL. Additionally, a customer advocate will never provide this information to someone who we cannot personally guarantee is part of your practice. If we're ever unsure about somebody who reaches out for this information, we will contact the practice owner prior to providing this link to them. At OWL, we use bank-level encryption to encrypt all data that moves between our secure and dedicated servers and the device and browser which a clinician accesses their OWL practice account on. The data is encrypted between the servers and your devices using SHA-256 with RSA. We continuously test our systems to ensure that our encryption layers have the most up-to-date patches for any vulnerabilities that may surface over time. With OWL, your data is continuously backed up, both across OWL servers and in multiple locations, so you never need to worry about losing this practice data. We ensure this information will never be lost, so there's no need for finicky backup hard disks or difficult recoveries. OWL handles all of that for you, and it brings a lot of peace of mind to the practice owners. We're now going to head into OWL to explore some more compliant features that I can show you. The first feature I'd like to showcase is failed login attempts. By default, your practice email will receive failed login notifications when a user attempts to sign up with your practice. We introduce these notifications to give practice owners more control over failed login attempts made at their instance. With the information provided, you can reach out to a practitioner to see if they are struggling to log in and identify unauthorized attempts to access your account. From the email, you'll see here that the information shown includes the email address attempted to log in with, the date and the time of the login attempt, the IP and IP location of the user attempting to log in, and the device which the user was using when they tried to log in. With this information, you can connect with your colleagues to validate any failed login attempts if you notice anybody attempting to access your instance that should not have access to it. If you do notice somebody who should not have access attempting to access this, please let us know and we'd be happy to reach out to investigate further. If you ever want to make changes to this setting, it can be found in the settings section of your OWL account under practice details. You can turn these notifications off as you wish, but we suggest that you keep these on for security purposes. The next feature that I'd like to showcase here is OWL's privacy mode. This is a feature within OWL that helps you privatize client names when you might need to. For instance, if you're speaking with another practitioner, have a client behind you, or you're working somewhere off-site like a coffee shop. You can apply privacy mode at any time by toggling the eye at the top of the screen. By toggling this on and off, this will hide your client names and client numbers as well as only show their initials. It's intended to be a quick tool to protect client identities in your account. It's important to note that privacy mode does not hide any names on historical documents such as invoices, receipts, or session notes. Anything that's being sent from OWL will show the client's full name, as you must always ensure that this is being sent to the correct person. For clients who prefer to receive digital copies of their financial documents, we also offer the option to password protect the PDF that's sent to them. I'll open an invoice to show you exactly how this is done. In the sidebar beside the Open Invoice, Receipt, or Account Summary, you'll see the client's email as well as the emails for everyone else in their circle of care. Below this, you'll see the option to add a password into this protected field. Here, you can go ahead and type that password to protect this PDF. We recommend that this is communicated to the client outside of the session. Now, you'll simply click the checkbox next to the email that you wish to deliver the invoice to, and then click the email button below. You'll see a confirmation that this email was delivered. I have an example ready to show you so you can see what it looks like on your client's end when they open the email. You can see that they're able to download the PDF easily, but once they try to access it, they will not be able to until they've typed in the correct password. We're now going to go ahead and head to the Notes section of the client's profile to explore a few more features. The features highlighted in this area are extremely beneficial if your notes are ever subpoenaed. Once a note starts saving in OWL, you can see a full list of the revision history to this. This is especially beneficial if your notes are subpoenaed, as an investigator can see when the final changes were made to this. Once you finish note, you can also sign this using the sign function in OWL. As you can see, this adds a digital copy of your signature, your title, credentials, and license number, and once the note is signed, it is locked so no further revision can be made to this. The date and time that the note was signed are shown below the signature as well. If there's ever a complaint made about you as a practitioner, having these features available can make this process much less stressful. Knowing that you're remaining compliant by using OWL creates peace of mind. Say, for example, you're seeing a client whose abusive spouse has filed a complaint against you. You'll be required to submit your session notes to an auditor for them to investigate this claim. Your first step is to complete the notes export within OWL. This feature allows you to download a copy of your client's session and non-session notes during a period of time. Simply set the date range here, choose if you'd like to include non-session notes or not, and export this to your computer. They'll download to your computer in a zip file with each PDF saved individually, and here you're able to pass these along to the body auditing you. Having the revision history clearly shown in OWL proves to an auditor that you've not made any changes to your notes since the complaint was filed. The signing feature shows when a note was locked on a specific date and time, and this is helpful as well. OWL can help make a stressful event like this a lot easier to manage in your practice. There is also this non-session notes feature available to you as well. This feature allows you to store a record of client communications that happen outside of a session that are secure and paperless. It's great if you have a phone call or another interaction with a client outside of their sessions that you need to create a note for. You can use the Create Note icon at the top of the screen to add this note, and choose any of your templates offered if you would like. As mentioned previously, non-session notes can be excluded from the notes export if you ever need to include them as well. Finally, OWL has recently released a feature called Secure Messaging. OWL Practice's Secure Messaging feature provides clinics with secure, personal information compliant way to have two-way communication within the application. Secure messaging can be used to have chat-style communication with clients, or internally to have chat-style communication between colleagues and other staff members. For clients, this allows for instant message-style chatting. If both parties are online and at the same time, messages can be delivered instantaneously. It's an amazing way to connect with your clients, but also means it's important for you as a practice to determine and clearly outline the messaging policy to your clients. Make sure you establish a precedent for how to use these features with clients that's reflective of your communication policies and standards. Doing so will ensure optimal messaging experiences for therapists and clients alike. We actually have a feature that can help enable this in OWL. Here's the client portal from the client point of view. When a client logs onto their portal and accesses their messages, they'll always see this informative banner here at the top. You can customize this message based on your practice in the Secure Messaging section of your settings. When you're viewing the conversation, you can use the Edit Conversation button shown here to add additional participants if needed. All of the participants who are currently part of the conversation will appear in the list with a white background. All of the users who are not yet part of the conversation will appear in the list with a gray background and with a checkbox next to their name. Simply click a user's name to add them to the conversation. You'll be prompted to confirm the action, and then more participants can be added as needed. It's important to note that anyone in the conversation who is added will be permanently added. Once you've added a user to the conversation, they cannot be removed. Also, please keep in mind that when you add an additional participant, they'll be able to see the entire chat history, including all of the messages that were sent prior to them joining the conversation. Secure messaging can also be used to communicate with your colleagues as well. In the group edition, we've made starting conversations even easier. We've created a few handy pre-populated user groups when starting conversations like all office, admins, owners, and all therapists. We've created the option All Office, which allows you to initiate a conversation with every single user at the practice. It's great for communicating office-wide announcements and updates as well. It's important to keep in mind that the intention of this feature is not to be a total email replacement. Clinics and clients can continue to use their email services to send communications to one another. OWL Practice is simply providing an additional, more secure means of communication. Secure messaging can be enabled for the practice or disabled should the practice decide not to use it. Only clinics that have OWL Practice's client portal are able to use secure messaging with their clients. If the practice is not yet upgraded to the client portal, the practice will only be able to use secure messaging internally with staff. This is the last piece that I wanted to show you in OWL, so we're now going to head back to the presentation to finish up. Before we begin the FAQ period, I wanted to let you know about a special offer we're having right now. For those of you who are new to OWL and wanted to make the transition a bit easier, we'd like to offer you 1 month of the client portal features for free when you sign up for a paid plan with OWL. Simply mention the webinar promotion when you contact us to sign up. Today, we're going to be exploring some of the most commonly asked questions about compliance and security and sharing these answers with you. If you have any specific questions outside of the ones discussed today, please email us and we would be happy to discuss these further with you. The first question you are commonly asked is, who owns my data? You own all of the practice data that you put into your OWL account. As a service provider, OWL works for you to store and make accessible your practice data in ways that help you to be more efficient. This means that you own all of your information, and OWL is just holding on to it for you and acting as a custodian. Furthermore, OWL is designed to allow you as a practice owner to access and download your practice information from OWL whenever you'd like. Simply use one of our many data exports at any time to export this information, whatever the reason, be it downloading your client list, your year-end accounting, or computing therapist payments. The next question people often ask is, how is data destroyed in OWL? Data is destroyed by removing it from all of our systems. We own all hardware that stores any of our customers' data, which means that we own the hard drives we use as well. Once we remove data from hard drives, we then overwrite it with other data to ensure that this is fully and properly deleted. Customers frequently ask us what happens when they must delete data according to their college compliance. Practitioners are required to delete data after a set period of time. OWL will never delete any client data unless we're explicitly requested and approved by a practice owner. This means that you're responsible for tracking when this data must be removed. We cannot be responsible for tracking or removing this information because there are nuanced situations for each practice and client. As the practitioner, you are completely responsible for maintaining this information yourself. Next, we've been asked what constitutes personal information under PIPEDA. The definition of personal information differs somewhat under PIPEDA and the Privacy Act, but generally it can mean the following about your race, national or ethnic origin, your religion, age, marital status, medical, education, or employment history, any financial information, DNA, and any identifying numbers such as your social insurance number or driver's license. Things that are not generally considered personal information can include information that is not about an individual because the connection with the person is too weak or far removed. An example of this is a postal code, as it covers a large area with many homes. Information about an organization, such as a business. Information that's been rendered anonymous as long as it's not possible to link that data back to an identifiable person. Certain information about public servants, such as their name, position, and title. And a person's business contact information that an organization collects, uses, or discloses for the sole purpose of communicating with that person in relation to their employment, business, or profession. Next, we want to discuss what happens in the event of the death of a practitioner. Whether you're a therapist, psychologist, or social worker, someone has to be responsible for your files and data in case of an emergency. For this reason, you must make arrangements to have a power of attorney so that someone can take responsibility and make necessary arrangements for your practice. If you haven't already done so, you should seek legal counsel to arrange for a power of attorney as part of your practice planning. This legal document gives another party the legal authority to act on your behalf to settle matters pertaining to your practice. When someone is acting on your behalf under a power of attorney, OWL Practice will comply and furnish all the necessary data for this. The final question that we wanted to answer today is, at OWL, who has access to my client information? Though our support does have access and is able to see your account data, we have a strict policy that we only access your account when you request assistance from us and we obtain your permission. Employees are giving training on compliance and personal health information to ensure that they understand the confidential nature of your data and that it's handled properly. All employees go through extensive training so that our privacy policies can be strictly adhered to. Additionally, our team is all located in Canada as we are a Canadian company. That wraps up everything we wanted to share with you today. I hope you enjoyed this webinar, and as we said, if you did have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to support@owlpractice.ca. We would be happy to continue the conversation with you. Thanks for attending today. Goodbye.